Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 3rd of September 2025, and just a update session really being slotted between some prepping channels that I'm currently doing. First and foremost, I just want to touch on the topic of conversation here in the UK, and that is the up and coming event in London on the 13th of September this year. Before that, though, we need to touch on a couple of other updates coming out of Europe, which are relevant and important if you guys need any sort of level of clarification as to the reasons why or you should be prepping. Actually, I'm going to exclude that. I'm going to exclude the European update. I think because it will just make this video too long. So let's just forget about that for now. I want to touch on this quickly, though. Actually, let's start with this. This is the American rubbish that's coming out of America at the moment. I don't like to talk about it too much, but I think it's worth it's worth noting. So some of you will be aware that American naval ships have been heading to the coast of Venezuela, which is a South American country sandwiched between Colombia and Guyana, with at least a third of its coastline on the Caribbean Sea. So that's the region that we're talking about. I don't think you're going to hear this in many places, and I'm surprised the American social media channels aren't jumping on it as well. But here I go again with with some logic and common sense. I'm just going to throw up a couple of maps just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, and some articles as well. So back in 2022, I remember reading this article. Actually, before I tell you about that, let's just see the reasons why the rest of the world think the Americans are going into Venezuela. The reason why the rest of the world, this is just some of the articles on there, but they're all pretty much saying the same thing. But when I say the rest of the world, this is including the Americans. Can you believe it? I think that the US Navy are on their way to, or already in the vicinity of Venezuela, is to fight the drug cartels. Just one question about this theory, and that's the mainstream theory and the narrative that they put out there. But if the US are going to be fighting drug cartels, then why has and is Maduro? Maduro is the Venezuelan president. What he's doing at the moment, he's mobilizing the Bolivarian military, or his military, to fight the Americans, that is. So surely, if you would have expected Maduro to also want to get rid of these drug cartels, wouldn't you? Anyway, this is my theory, and call it what you like. But back in 2022, new oil wells, which are part of the Statbroke block, contains about 11 billion barrels of recoverable oil and gas. So they quoted back then that there was a massive reserve, which was the equivalent to one of the largest oil finds in sort of generations, and has transformed Guyana into an economic and geopolitical success story. Since the first major discovery of this oil field was back in 2015, but 2022 is when they announced it. Actually, let's just take a look at the map. No, we won't look at the map, actually. Let's just quickly, I just want to go through this quickly. Right. So Venezuela disputed the new oil reserves discovered in 2022 because they are located in the Essequibo region, which is a territory that Venezuela claims it's its own. So despite Guyana administering the region, this claim stems from a large standing territorial dispute rooted in colonial history. So that's the dispute between those two countries. Now, the Essequibo region dispute is an ongoing territorial conflict between Guyana and Venezuela over a large resource-rich area of Western Guyana. So Venezuela claims that the territory based on a long-standing but rejected 1899 arbitral ruling, while Guyana administers it and is supported by the International Court of Justice. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here, guys, is Venezuela here, Guyana here, and Venezuela seem to think that this red area, 70% of the country is theirs. based on history. Okay, I don't know the history; it's not important, but I just want to outline this to you now. Going back to what we're talking about here, the drug business in the West or in America, South America, Central America, North America is worth billions in itself. Um, but that's illegal and it's hard to manage. But the total recoverable oil and gas deposits for the Guyana Stabroek block, not a single well. I think there's about 26 wells, or they're drilling in 26 different places. When I say they, we're talking about BP, Shell, Esso, those kinds of people. Is estimated to be over 11 billion barrels of oil equivalent, a result of numerous discoveries with the first. Anyway, I've already said that. Okay, so what we've got now, then we've got. Let me just show you what that quickly looks like. Okay, so this is out at sea. These are the oil fields here. These are where they're drilling, and it's a treasure trove. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, guys. This is why I think America are heading into the region just to put a stop to Venezuela being a threat to the Guyanans. So my guess is Trump is offering protection to Guyana in exchange for no doubt a slice of that cake, that being this cake on the screen. US oil companies, if they haven't already, they'll be preparing to drill, baby drill in that area. It's all about business and money, guys, especially when Trump's involved. Right. I just wanted to get that out there. You're going to hear, you'll come across it. It's completely irrelevant to you and I. But what I'm doing is I'm just raising another government bullshit, sort of narrative. That's just what it is. They work alongside the media companies. The media companies are telling everybody it's a fight against the drug cartels, even though, the president of Venezuela wants to kick off with America. You would have thought they would have come together to resolve that issue in that country. It's about money, oil, rich minerals in the ground. And unfortunately, guys, a lot of wars are about those minerals, which is why those wars are territorial and or religious based. So let's get off of there. Next topic of conversation. There's only three things we're going to cover here. Let's cover this one though. So the event, the protest, the fight, or whatever you want to call it, kicks off in London on the 13th of September. So that's 10 or 11 days away. An event happening in the central London around Russell Square and Whitechapel, I believe, between those two locations. So for anyone unaware, I'm sure there's not many of you, but on the 13th of September 2025, there's going to be an event in London. So Tommy Robinson has organised the UK's biggest free speech protest in London, a national demonstration being promoted as what I believe to be a free speech. So it's a free speech rally. Call it what you like. This is a protest. It's bringing patriots of the United Kingdom together to unite the UK. So there is an estimation or an estimated, shall we say, well, they're estimating to attract around about 1 million people to the streets of London in this area. Tommy has published numerous social media posts calling for calm, a peaceful protest, and even a day out for you and the family. So I think he's even said, bring the kids along as well, and everything will be fine. So let's just rewind just a little bit, shall we? I'm not even going to talk about the actual protest itself and the people that are going to be speaking and what they're going to be speaking about. I've done videos as has many other people and channels. They're covering the reasons why this protest is even happening in the first place. But it's a protest. And that is the first thing that you need to bear in mind. The nature of a protest, a free speech rally, bringing the British people together and uniting, which simply put is uniting against the UK government, currently being blamed for absolutely everything that's going wrong in the United Kingdom right now, and quite rightly so, because if it isn't their fault, then who are we going to blame? I suppose we're going to blame the immigrants, but wait, there's already a percentage of the country already blaming them. So Tommy, right, okay, so Tommy has asked that that the people that go to the event don't wear masks, no alcohol, and no violence. Oh dear. This is a march against or ultra nationalists and or authoritarian sort of political ideology characterized by a dictatorial sort of leader. It's going to be or central government. So we're talking about central government. We're going to be, sort of voicing opinions about suppression and opposition and the prioritization of, the national above individual rights. So it typically involves extreme nationalism, and a strong belief in the national community's sort of perception in decline. That's what we're talking about. Okay, we're seeing the country, fall to its knees. We're blaming the government who, not doing a very good job of managing this side of the business. But anyway, don't worry about that. Now, all of that's fine, guys. In normal circumstances, a protest, like this would be peaceful and deemed a success for either side or both sides. However, these aren't normal circumstances. So the United Kingdom is being flooded with immigrants at the moment from all over the world, flooded with misinformation onto your social media platforms and mainstream news, causing anger. But more importantly, it's causing a divide in this country. I didn't want to bring it up, but I can't talk about this subject without it. So just want to keep the content on the screen going. Sorry about the it's boring content, but sorry. We have more than one thing brewing here, guys. Again, guys, what I'm going to talk about is really just my opinion based on kind of what I see. It's not a subject I want to get into. This is not the purpose of this channel, but it's necessary at the moment. We are seeing things brewing up like events and narratives being orchestrated over the last certainly 1 to 2 years. First, we've had the Palestinian protests in many countries around the world, with the largest protests, not the largest, the recent protests. I've been reading about protests in Frankfurt and Venice this week, with many other clashes sort of happening everywhere else. These protests are all potential clashes. There's a clear narrative evolving from them. Whether that is intentionally or not, who knows? A divide against nations and cultures, creed and religion, and that's dangerous territory in itself. But the protests within the UK are becoming racially motivated in one way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter whether people want to admit that or not. That's just kind of that's what's happening. You could find yourself at a Palestinian protest and then finding yourself kicking off with somebody over religion. You could be stood outside a hotel shouting and chanting to get the immigrants out, only to be finding yourself kicking off with one of the immigrants and calling them a nonce. And you could be at a protest like the one on the 13th of September, where you've got a Union Jack draped over your shoulders, only for somebody to come running out of the crowd, rip the flag off your back and punch you in the face. The UK right now is a powder cake, meaning, there's a small fire smouldering away with people from different backgrounds stood there with petrol cans in their hands and just waiting to ignite this situation. My last video, we touched briefly on these mass fatality tents, of which I believe, sort of come into play when NATO are at war with Russia. That just seems the logical reason. However, someone said to me the other day, those tents could be for the event on the 13th of September. And I said to them, what do you mean? And they said, well, it could be an almighty terrorist attack there, killing hundreds of people. There's going to be, up to 1 million people crowded up into small spaces. And when I thought about it, I struggled actually to disregard it. But more importantly, or worryingly, I'm sat here even having this kind of conversation with you guys. It clearly outlines the problem that we currently have here at the moment, not just in the UK, but right across the Western world at the moment. And another reason why the terrorist attack got me thinking was because only 4 weeks ago, or it might have been, it wasn't too many weeks ago, I also published a video on sleeper cells in this country. And that was off of the back of the Iran's raising of the red flag of revenge against the West. That was kind of, when Israel and America kind of went into Iran. And that the raising of that flag, flag of revenge, was really calling for all Muslims in the world, which that got me thinking. If you're interested, just go back and watch those videos on sleeper cells and other sort of videos in and around that kind of subject. I'm not going to cover that now. See, nothing can be disregarded now. There is a big mix of issues swirling around sort of within communities, whether that be religion, immigration, the cost of living, war and conflict and even racism, with a pathetic government being seen to be doing nothing about any of it. There seems to be a nasty cocktail of emotions developing. There's lots of finger pointing and signs that there's just unrest amongst the civilians in the UK, Europe, and quite frankly, everywhere else. Um, See, I'm not far right or far left, whatever that means. I'm more of a I don't give a fuck lefty or righty because right now, this circus here in the UK is the least of our problems. And it could even be an orchestrated smokescreen for what's to come. I know what the government are up to. I know that they're orchestrating the movement of humans into the country to backfill holes across the UK economy. And I didn't know this until this morning, actually. I heard this morning. See, I've done videos on various metrics in terms of how many people are on benefits, how many people are looking for work and out of work, and how many jobs are available in the UK. But I didn't know this, that there is a shortfall of 150,000 NHS staff across the service. I know that the government don't give a shit about me, and to them, yeah, well, to the government, I'm not going to say you guys. I was about to say you guys as well. I don't, I don't know. But anyway, this is my view. Okay, to the government, I'm just a number. That's all I am. I also want to mention this, guys. There's two hotels in my area with immigrants in. One hotel only a couple of hundred miles, a couple of hundred miles, couple of hundred meters away. But guess what? I'm still not working. So if you may have if in some of my videos you'll be aware that I've only had 1 6 month contract since last year. I'm in the IT industry and I've been out of work and I'm still out of work now. And having to sort of further educate and take courses just to better my chances in the IT industry. I don't blame the immigrants for taking any of those IT jobs. There's just, right now, there's just a lot less vacancies available in the UK, and that's got absolutely nothing to do with the immigrants. That's got to do with things like the falling economy or failing economy and the unfolding war in Europe. That is why there's a lot less jobs for me. Companies out there have sort of re-strategized, have recruitment freezes, no business travel, and have well, they've simply pulled in the purse strings as they don't know, what's going to be happening across Europe if it pops off. So that's the reason why I've seen a decline in my industry. I also know that there are no reported serious crimes committed to date in this area by immigrants here. um, I don't blame a single immigrant for anything at the moment because they've not caused me any problems. Just because they reside in a hotel that's not causing me any issues, but that may be causing other people, some issues when the hotel is no longer a hotel and maybe a local business relied on the hotel for work or for business or whatever it is. But remember this, guys, that's not the immigrants' fault either. That is the British government. And also, just keep in mind at all times that the UK government are merely running a systematic business, keeping the engine running. And that's pretty much it. Sorry, and I've said it. I've said it before. That that's they're not here to be our friends, guys. They're here to run a business. And us, me, you, and those immigrants that are coming over, we're just a commodity. Because without us, they're done. They're finished. The country's done. Okay. So if we haven't got people working, and we haven't got people putting money into the pot, and we haven't got this, and we haven't got that, that's it. The country's done. So the government are just managing this whole shit show. The problem is they're managing it badly. Um, Walking around like they don't give a shit with their middle fingers up. That's what it seems. That's to me. I don't know about you, but it's like Starmer and those other two idiots. They're just walking around with their middle fingers up at the moment, because I believe, and remember, guys, this is only speculation based on my findings over the last 1,289 days. Following war and conflict in Europe and elsewhere, I believe that we are witnessing this shit show because the governments know what's coming. Unfortunately, for 85% of the people out there not acknowledging the fact that the UK, EU, and NATO are preparing for war. But with that in mind, it just all makes a whole lot more sense. Unless, of course, we're in, Well, it doesn't matter. Just I won't say that. So that's all I wanted to cover on this March. Something that's cropped up that I had to throw in here. It's the topic of conversation today. It was a topic of conversation a couple of months ago, and it was also a topic of conversation when the Labour government were in. But I just want to talk about these sort of subjects, without sort of mentioning the new kid on the block, and that's going to be these digital ID cards or the UK digital ID cards. Listen, ladies and gents, you, me, my family, your family, and everyone we know here in the UK are being taken for complete fucking mugs. Excuse the language, but this piece of news is infuriating. Um, there's no logical reason why these ID cards can resolve the immigration crisis, not even slightly. If there is one, then if there is if that card if those cards are going to resolve that, then just issue them to the immigrants. Issue the migrants the ID cards, not the British citizens that already have the right to sort of be here. I cannot find not one reason how a digital ID card is going to stop the illegal immigrants. In fact, the immigrants won't give a shit because they want to come here anyway. It doesn't matter. They'll come here. They'll take your ID card off you, and that's fine. They want to come here and work and live and everything else. But that's not going to stop them from coming. We had this same bullshit a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about the one in, one out policy, another load of shit. So with that, there has to be another reason why this is being talked about. Let me put this to you, which makes a whole lot more sense than that stupid bunch in Parliament trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Um, right, how shall I put this? Okay, right, this is not just about providing um, who you are online. Okay, so this is a digital ID card. Okay, we've most people that drive, or yeah, most people. Yeah, I'm going to say most people that drive have got a full UK driving license. If you've travelled abroad, you'll have a passport. Um, this is more about the UK government building. I think this is my view. Okay, this is my theory, guys. But I think the UK government are just building a centralised digital ID system. Let's call it a system that will be controlled by the government. It's their idea. It will be them that could be used to hook you or for them to hook into your finances, such as your bank accounts, tax in terms of HMRC. They'll be able to tap into it. Debt management, such as Equifax, your medical history. It could also be hooked into your travel movements when you're buying tickets for trains and all the rest of it. Because remember, guys, this is a digital ID, meaning it will be on your smartphone, which could pull in your social media activity and even your normal social activities in real life. Someone has quoted this as being the digital dog tag for us here in the UK. Once clipped around your neck, guys, it will not come off. This card is being sold to you and I to allow us to access public services, I think is one of the reasons. All the benefits. And all of those things mentioned just now, in terms of them sort of tracking you, they will be launched as optional bolt-ons. But that is just the UK government, we're talking about. Look, what I'm trying to say, guys, is that they're going to tell you all the benefits of this, what you can and can't do, and all the rest of it. The main services or features, shall we say, will be optional to start. And then after that, they'll just change it. So the biggest concern for me is with this is the government potentially hooking into yours and my finances. At the moment, the government can request to look at your bank details. So if you're currently claiming benefits, DWP and HMRC can talk to your bank and request to see your financial movements. For any of you out there that are into crypto, I touch into crypto. I've kind of been interested in it for 5 years, but this is if you're in crypto or into crypto in January of next year, so 2026. So it's only 3 months away. The HMRC can then request to see your crypto transactions, also hooked into your bank account, and then slap you with capital gains tax. I'm not going to get into that, but that's that's another that's another anyway. This is the government tapping into your finances. Most of you will remember these. Do you remember the digital COVID-19 temporary vaccination passports that you had on your phones? And within weeks of having them, you couldn't go into pubs and other establishments without them, and you definitely couldn't fly abroad. So this Brit card is being deemed as a start of it's a start of a surveillance state with facial recognition, CCTV in public places now popping up everywhere. Once this Brit card is integrated and you want to apply for, let's say, a job, rent a property, or take a train, then just show your Brit card. This is a tracking and control system, and personally, unless you're sheep and you don't mind having a shackle around your necks, then I would be concerned about this. In fact, ladies and gents, there's a lot happening around the world at the moment that I would be concerned about. But listen, I don't want this to be all about doom and gloom. It is a prepping channel, and I need to get back on that. That's the problem with delving into news. Some of it I just find relevant, and some not. I mean, the two things that we've spoke about is not really relevant to prepping. It's just making you aware and getting yourself prepared for changes that are happening in our society at the moment. So let's just finish this off. So my view and verdict on the 13th of September. I don't know how many of you are going or you know people that are going. I'm sure some of you will know somebody that's going. But if you're thinking about going, don't take the kids. Understand why and what you're actually going for, and then just be true to that cause. Also, be aware, vigilant, and just be ready just in case that spark ignites. Because there's going to be thousands people, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets of London with emotions flying around in all directions. And just to throw more fuel on that fire, the government, they're going to be there. They'll be there in force to throw more fuel on the fire, whether that's the emergency services, police forces, and all the rest of it. I believe there's going to be groups there paid by whoever to pretty much cause trouble, because they will want this protest to fail and receive the worst publicity ever. They don't want, when I say they, we're talking about the government, but they don't want this protest to be a success for obvious reasons, because everyone's going to be speaking out against the government. So my guess is they, as in the government, will do whatever they can to stir this shit up. And and give everyone else something else to talk about, taking the real sort of topic of conversation and the spotlight off of them. They're just, they're just not going to want to see the British people conquering by numbers as a result of, some kind of divide that they're causing and losing control of. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to get those three things out there. That's it. Just before I go though, this is probably a little bit irrelevant, but I've started this fitness plan this week. It's based on the civilian version of the 32-week Royal Marines recruits physical training course. I find myself sort of yapping on about, well, certainly to you guys, getting out there and getting some level of fitness in, when I should be doing more, really. So if you're interested in that training plan, just let me know. Ping me an email and I'll send you the 32-week plan. It's quite good. It covers all sorts of stuff, lots of CV, running, swimming, walking, boxing, weight training. You can just take bits out that suits your regime or your interest or your preference. I knew I wouldn't get time to do the or provide you with the European updates in this session. It's important news. I'm going to do another video straight after this one, and I'll get it out to you as quickly as I can. Get yourselves military fit, guys, and infantry aware. Just keep an ear to the ground and get prepared. But more importantly, just be careful if you find yourselves down there in the capital on the 13th of September.